What's up everyone? It's Rayvon from Luv Lola. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am just so happy to have you here with me. Make sure that you take a moment to look down below in the description box because that's where you're going to find a link to where you can purchase the pattern. I'm going to have links to where I purchase my materials, my vinyls, my zippers, my hardware. If I'm using it, you're going to have a link to where you can find it. Today, we're going to be making everyone, so first things first, let's go over our pieces that we've cut. As usual, always go ahead and add a cut or a marker or something so that you know where the midpoint of all of your pieces are. I have interfaced everything today with a combination of Sewfuse Plus and Decaville Light. All of these pieces are gonna, for the most part, have a mark that you need to get transferred over. So go ahead and get your pieces out and do that. The front panel top piece, we're gonna be using it to mark our grommets. When you mark your grommet, it's gonna be on this piece and also the back piece, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead and mark that on the exterior, the outside part of your material, not the inside, because that's what we're gonna be adding at the very end, right? So we're gonna need to see that mark at the end to get those grommets installed. You also need to mark and install your magnetic snap, the female. Turn it over and use this template to get all of the placements of your rivets or your studs that you're going to be using. If you're going to be using piping, you're going to be marking that on this front panel top as well. You'll notice that flap A and flap B are slightly different in size or in height, so go ahead and make sure that you are noting that. I did go and write on the back of all of my pieces what they were, just because some of them are so similar, I don't want to get them mixed up. So on our flap panel A, you're going to be cutting your bridge, you're going to be marking where your bridge connector is going to be going. You need to go ahead and transfer where you're going to be putting your bridge connector. Get that marked on the back of this pattern. You'll notice, like with all of her patterns, she gives you an option. She's going to give you two lines for your flap. You can cut on the inside line if you want your edges to be exposed, and then there's a dotted line a little bit with a little bit wider for if you're going to be using woven or if you just don't want your edges exposed. That's what I'm going to be using today. So just make note of that, which line you're going to be cutting on that flap. Again, flap panel B is slightly shorter than A, so just make sure that you don't get those two mixed up, okay? Flap panel A is the one that's actually going to be showing on your bag. Flap panel B, we can go ahead and mark and install where our male part of our magnetic snap is going to be going. I marked it, but I didn't install it, so I'll do that in just a second. Front panel bottom, you need to make a mark where you're going to be adding that flap later. Okay, so just use that to line it up on the side and mark that on both sides, and that's going to help us later when we are placing our flap on it. This is our back bottom lining piece. Again, you should be marking where your grommets are going to be going on this one. You have a flap strip A and a flap strip B. The flap strip B is slightly shorter than the A, and that's just to help reduce bulk. So again, be aware of which piece that you're going to be using. For our hardware, have fun with this, okay? I thought I was going to use some pieces kind of like she did in the picture on in the pattern online when you buy it, these little round ones. I actually have these in 4 different sizes, so I was going to play around and see if I wanted to do combinations or, you know, whatever. But I actually decided that I totally forgot I bought some spikes quite a while ago that I never got put on my website. I'm going to see if I can find some pictures that I've taken of them. But I think I may use some of these. I don't know if it's going to be a combination or just one. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I got 5 different types of spikes. Excuse all the pen. I've been marking up and it's showing. But I've got a few different sizes and shapes. So I may pull these out for today. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I never know what I'm going to do ahead of time. But I'll try to get these added to my website before this video. In case you like it, you'll be able to go and go. And all of these screw on. The spikes screw on. Oh, gosh. All right, I think that we have gone over everything. So, hardware, you are going to need a couple of grommets. And these are not your regular grommets like this. You could use these if you wanted, you know, I don't know. These are just a different type of grommet. These are the kind that come with a washer that you just kind of smash on. That's what you're going to need today. Or you can use the big ones if you want to. I think these are 8mm that I'm going to be using today. And then you're also going to need a bridge that's going to be going over your flap. And then you're going to need some kind of spring lock, not spring lock, but spring ring that is going to loop through those grommets that we're placing on. If you have a label you want to get on, get your label ready. I don't think she gave us a placement for the label, so just find the spot that you like and get it added. I think that's about it, y'all. We can get started. Hey, sweetie. Let's talk about this fringe cut thingy. So for my fringe part, I'm actually going to be... Oh, I thought I had a pin mark on here. I'm actually going to be using a piece of leather for this because I feel like it will... The fringe will look better. I didn't want to use vinyl and then the... You know how there's different color on most vinyl pieces. I didn't want that, so I decided I'm going to go with actual leather. And how I'm going to do this is I use my pattern piece to cut this out. And then we are to transfer these lines over to cut them. And I'm not writing these lines out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this piece off right here. This leather I got from, oh my gosh, why can't I think of the name of it? Oh, just because I want to know it, I can't think of it. But I'll find it. It's a place where I get leather remnants. Very affordable. I think it's gosh, I don't want to lie. But it's quite a bit of remnants for $10. And this is one of the ones that I got, one of the hides that I got included in my package that I'm going to be using today for this piece. I'll put a link. I did a video of a review of it. So I'll add that link. You can get some really nice leather pieces for really, really, really cheap. Okay, so what I did was I cut that piece off. And now I'm going to flip this over. Lola, stop, baby. And I'm going to measure these lines, and it looks like they are about 1/4 inch apart from each other. All right, so I am going to start on one side, go in 1/4 of an inch. And make a cut, stopping at the line that I just drew. Now this is going to be a process of love, okay? So don't get rushed. Take your time. Take your time and make it pretty. Okay, then I'm just going to scoot it over and do the same thing again. And keep going until I'm finished. Okay, once we've got all of our fringe cut, we're gonna grab our front panel bottom piece and we're gonna lay them so they're both right side facing up and we're matching up our midpoints. And we're gonna go and get that basted on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now let's set this aside and grab our, let's grab our front panel top. Now, I don't remember if I went over this already, so I'm going to go over it again just in case. There were 2 lines on the bottom of this front panel top. Once I used the second line and cut out my pattern piece. So once I used the line that was out here to cut out my pattern piece, I then went and cut on the second line. And if you have the pattern piece in front of you, you'll understand what I'm saying right now. Baby. You will understand what I'm saying right now. So now I've cut that second line, and what I did was I went on my back part and I used that new line that I cut and drew it. So now I have the second line on here. Once I drew my second line on there, I got a little piece of double-sided tape and I put a piece of tape all along the top of the line that I just drew. Now we are going to snip up to that line. Not quite to the line, but almost. Because what we're going to be doing is folding on that line in just a second. And when we do this next part, we're going to have to just take our time, okay? Don't rush it because we want to have a nice, pretty, this is gonna show. This is going to be the front of our flap, right? So we want it to be nice and smooth. So let's go ahead and snip all the way around. We're not snipping all the way exactly to that line that we just drew, but we're getting pretty close.
Okay, let's hit.
And now we're going to just take our time and slowly fold on that line. We're not folding to it, we're folding on it. So we're making a fold on that line. Taking our time so that we can have a nice, pretty fold. And I like to fold a little bit and go down an inch or half of an inch and fold and then go back, just so things don't start shifting to the side. So I'll skip over a little bit, fold it on the line, and then go back and connect it. I just feel like that helps me. Okay, once we've got that on, mine isn't wanting to stick. We're gonna go grab this piece that we just worked on, and then we're gonna line it up on that mark that we made earlier. Right there. We're gonna place the corner of this right on that mark. First, I'm going to make sure that my fringes are all laying super flat. Flat and straight. Okay. Place that back on that mark. Same thing on the other side. Right on that corner.
You almost finished.
Yep. Okay, once we have that on, we're going to hurry up and go get this top stitched on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I've got my tweezers just in case the pieces try to start coming undone as I'm sewing it. I can just tuck it back really quick.
Are you going on a picnic?
Yes, I'm going to come meet you for a picnic.
I already washed it. I just put it back in here.
You wash it in the kitchen? Are you not lying, are you?
Wait, I forgot to wash it.
All right. Now, once you get that attached, I was premature with my magnetic snaps, but if you like, you could have waited until now to get these snaps attached after you stabilize it. I already did mine, so it's fine. This is so cute. All right, and I'm also going to be adding another layer of interfacing on here. You could use the stabilizer if you would like. I'm okay with using just another layer of interfacing for mine. I don't need this bag to be too stiff. So I'm going to cut a panel of stabilizer to cover this whole piece right now. And I'm also going to go ahead and get my hardware installed after I get my other layer of interfacing attached. Okay, and once you get that piece attached, you can go ahead and cut this piece off before you stabilize it or interface it. And when you do that, just make sure you leave at least 1/4 of an inch seam allowance along there. I'm actually gonna keep mine on and just cover with stabilizer because I like, it's kind of basically giving me a feeling of stabilizer. So I'm gonna just leave mine there and just add some interfacing on top of it, and I think that's gonna feel great. All right, I'm gonna get my hardware, my rivets, I'm gonna be doing spikes attached right now. Okay, y'all, so I've got my rivets, well, my spikes attached, and it looks so good. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I don't know if you can see it.
Can I see?
They have like a little bit of a curve to them.
Because I picked them out.
You did pick them out, Lola. Thank you for picking these. They look great.
Can I see?
Yeah, give me 1 second, sweetie pie.
This
Okay.
looks cool.
Can you see that?
Oh, cool. I like it.
You like it?
And then you're gonna put this spike right here.
I sure am.
And then it'll look like this, guys.
Yes.
So you're gonna cut this.
No, I'm not gonna cut it.
And then leave it like
It's gonna
that.
be just like that. Oh, beautiful. I love it. I'm really digging these spikes, man. I've never used them before. I like the ethnic print and then the claws to go with it. This would be good with some kind of like a leopard print or something like that as well. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, so we've got that done. We're gonna set this aside, and these are screw-ons, okay?
1, 2, 3. I want to count it.
Okay, here, you go count it over there. Okay, so I have my hardware installed on my flaps, and I'm gonna go ahead and get these attached. We want them to be right side facing each other. Okay.
I'm gonna see a picture of what.
Okay, once you've got that pin, make sure you take your time and get the curves pinned really well. We're gonna sew this together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance with the front of our flap facing up. So our flaps are right sides touching each other right now. Okay, once I have my flap sewn together, I went ahead and trimmed it down to 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to add some double-sided tape to the front panel, the top of the front panel, which is slightly longer than the back panel. All right, I'm gonna turn it right side out. Take your time to get all of your curves, smooth it out really good. I'm going to use my little tool to help smooth these out because I want them to be nice and flat when I go in to do my top stitch, right? If you think you like this tool and it would be helpful for you, I have a link down below. I have an Amazon storefront where you can find this tool and basically all of the stuff that I use every day on bag making. There's a link down below. I do receive a small commission for linking it, so if you use it, thank you. I do appreciate it. Okay. Once you're happy with it, go ahead and get a few pins put on it, and we're going to be getting our top stitch at it. Alright, now I have a piece of stabilizer that I cut for my flap. I'm going to go ahead and just slide that in really quick. And that is Peltex 70, I believe. That's what I like to use for all of my flaps. Okay, that feels great. Alright, let's get ready for the next step.
Did you do some?
Yeah. Okay, so once we've got that done, we're going to set this aside for a second and work on our straps. So we have A and B. Like I said, I cut my A longer than it needed to be just because I need to fussy cut it or make it match with this flap. So I've drawn a line long way down the center of both of these pieces, and then I put a piece of double-sided tape right next to that line on both sides. Now we're just going to bend them in. Once we've got both sides folded in, apply double-sided tape on one of the pieces. And then get them attached to each other. Remember, your piece that is on the front, A, is going to be slightly longer than the piece that's on the back. Now at this point, you should go ahead and get your marks from your strap put on here, making sure that the top part where the back is a little bit shorter, make sure that's at the top when you do this placement, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna go and sew along completely around my flap. At 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I'm gonna get my spikes installed. All right, so your back panel piece will have a line for where you're gonna put your flap and a line for where you're gonna put your flap strip. First, let's grab our flap strip. Our back panel is right side facing up, and our flap strip is gonna be right side facing down. I'm gonna just put a little piece of tape right on that line. And we're gonna go and base that on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once we have that on, we're going to grab our flap and we want our flap where the exterior, the top of it is facing up towards us. We're going to go to that line. Now remember, we folded over the back of our flat, remember? So we don't have any exposed edges on our flap right now. I'm going to snap this on to my panel just so I can make sure everything is staying aligned. So these edges should be aligned with each other. Okay, and I'm placing it right on that line that we drew earlier. Enough to where the line is not going to be showing once we get it attached. Okay, now we're going to go and add a top stitch. We're going to add two top stitches, one at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance right there, and then a second one at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. If you like, you can leave your string long and then pull it through the back and tie it if you don't want to see your back stitch. Okay, and now we're going to get 3 rivets put in, but first we're going to fold this over. Okay, and now we're going to add a rivet right in the middle of where that flap is, this flap strip, and one in these 2 corners, just to get everything nice and secured, okay? Okay, now once you get to this point, if for whatever reason, like me, you line up your exterior, your back panel, and your front panel, okay, and you line them up from the bottom. If for whatever reason, if one of your panels is shorter than the other, then it's not a big deal. Just go ahead and match them up. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw a line where that one ends, the front panel. It could have been something I did. It could have been something that, you know, was during the testing process. Whatever the case, I'm just gonna trim that off the top and then make sure that I draw my new drop line, because remember we drew that drop line at 5/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go back and draw that again. And also find my midpoint again. So, no big deal. As long as my panels match up, I should be fine. Alright, and that was 5/8 of an inch down. And my new midpoint. Kind of hard to find because all this stuff is going on, so I'll just use my ruler. Let's get our dart sewn up. So you just want to make your darts. You want your material to be right sides touching, and you're going to get that sewn at about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And we're going to be doing all 4 darts, okay? Okay, now once we've got those darts done, we are going to place our fabric right sides touching, and I don't want my fringe getting caught in the seam, so I'm going to see if I can gather them up. There we go. I need a ponytail holder. Oh, look at God. All right, I'm going to do that. All right, so do whatever you need to do to make sure that your fringe doesn't get caught up when we do this next step. So we're going to place these right sides together, matching up our midpoints. Right there, right there. Make sure that you have your lines drawn for your drop lining, okay? Oh, it's there. I just can barely see it. I need to do it in a different color. Do what you got to do to make sure that fringe doesn't get caught, because that would be, oh my gosh, I would be so upset if I had to take it apart and take that out. So make sure your fringe is out of the way. Out of the way. Let's see. Okay, and when you get to the dart, what you want to do is have the seam allowance of one going towards the back and the seam allowance of the other going towards the front, just so that we don't get too bulky. Does that make sense? So you're going to match up the seam on the exterior, and then you're going to fold the seam allowance of one side that way and the seam allowance of the other one the other way. All right, now let's go and get this sewn together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now before we turn this baby, we need to go and make a few snips around the corners so that it will lay really smooth. I'm trimming mine down a little bit because I like to, I don't know, it's what I like to do. So we're gonna just make sure that we do some notches around the corners to make sure that it lays a little bit smoother for us when we turn it out, okay? All right, that's it. Let's turn it out. Make sure you didn't catch any fringe. I didn't, thank you. Jesus. All right. This is a pretty easy bag. I love it. Okay, so really quick, because I have these spikes, I don't want my, you know, this piece right here, I don't want it that long. So I'm going to cut mine a little bit shorter so that it ends up above this spike. Does that make sense? So because of my spikes, I'm going to trim that down just a little bit, I think. Yeah, because I don't want to cover that up. Let's see, I think. And I'm going to go add a stitch along that bottom just to be safe. All right, I'm going to add some stitches along the bottom. Right there, reinforcing along the side and the bottom to make sure that it doesn't come out.
Yeah.
All right. Yep, I think that'll do it. Oh, I love it so much. Okay, let's do our lining. And for our lining, we're just gonna do the same thing we did for the exterior, okay? I'm not gonna record me doing my pockets, but I am gonna link the videos of me doing the pockets so you can see if you're interested in doing it that way. But I'm not gonna show it just to save time and data on my on my camera. All right, I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I'm about to get my lining sewn together. I will note that I did increase the seam allowance on my darts just a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit, because I feel like it will help with the lining fitting the way that I want it to. Now, when we start sewing this together, we're going to start the top at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then when we get towards, we're going to increase that to about 1/2 of an inch. So I would say when you get about an inch down, you can go ahead and start increasing it to that 1/2 of an inch, all right? Let's get this connected, and then we're gonna finish this bad boy. We're almost done, y'all. All right, so once you've got your lining sewn together, go ahead and place double-sided tape along the very top, and this is on the wrong side of the lining. It's still inside out, okay? Also, get double-sided tape put along the inside of your exterior. Now, if you need to trim your seams down, if it's a little too bulky for you, you can go ahead and trim it down. Or if you want to just press them open and put tape on them, you can do that. I'm just gonna press mine open with my fingers and hold it, and I think it's gonna be fine. So what we're doing now is we are folding. Remember those lines we drew from the top of on all these 4 pieces? We're gonna be folding down to that line. So I'm gonna kind of finger press open my seams just to get them going. All right, and now I'm just gonna fold down to the line. We're not folding on the line, we're folding to the line. I'm gonna start in the middle because that's just what I like to do. And fold to that line. I'm using waterproof canvas, so it's probably gonna wanna pop back up on me. So if you need to, you can just add some clips along the way if you're having trouble making it stay down. I'm gonna try to do it fast so that I don't have to worry about that. Okay, now I'm gonna open it up, press those seams open, and continue. I'm gonna clip just the sides where those extra seams are to hold it in place. And repeat the same thing. Same thing to our exterior. Okay, so let's take our lining and figure out what side you want to be the front and the back. Whatever side you want to be the back of your lining, place that against the side of your bag that has the flap attached to it, okay? And we're just gonna slip this right inside. I love drop-in linings. I prefer them over turning the bag out any day, so I am thankful for this. God, I love a drop-in. Okay, so let's match up our midpoints. Okay. I love these big clamps for bulkier things like this. You can find these clamps in my Amazon storefront if you are interested in some of them. They come in handy. Oh gosh, I love a drop-in lining. I used to hate them when I first started sewing, but that was because I didn't really do my seam allowances the way they should have been done. And so they would get a little off. But if you measure it and do, you know, the exact same seam allowance and you cut everything correctly, you're going to be able to, the drop-in line is going to work every time. Numbers can't be wrong, you know. Another thing was sometimes I wasn't interfacing, and if you don't interface your material, some of them can start to stretch or get wonky. So that was another reason why sometimes my drop-ins wouldn't work. But if you cut precise, use the same seam allowance, and interface your material properly, drop-ins will work. Don't be afraid of a drop-in. Merry Christmas, y'all. Today's Christmas. I'm up here sewing before we do Christmas lunch. So Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. I hope everybody enjoyed theirs. Yeah, that feels good. Okay, and now we're gonna go and top stitch around the top of this at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Let's get our grommets installed. Now I want to say to you, if you have never used grommets before and you're not interested in using grommets, don't let that stop you from making this bag. You can still use like a bridge and connect it to the side of the bag, you know, somewhere towards the side, back-ish area. You could use some kind of, you know, hardware that connects to the side that you could then connect your hook to. You know, there's lots of different options for you to do to have a bag connected if you're not interested in using a grommet. So all I'm saying is don't let a grommet make you not make this bag if you're not comfortable doing grommets. With that being said though, I encourage you, if you've never tried installing a grommet, to do it. It's really easy. I swear it is. And it just, you know, it's another skill that you can learn, and it'll take your bag up a notch. But yeah, anyway, these connectors are super cute for options of adding handles. They're available on my website if you like them, and let's get going. So to install these, you're gonna need, well, you don't need, but it makes it easier to have a die, and then you're gonna need a tool. I got this die set off of Amazon. It's not expensive. I wanna say I paid between $10 and $15, and it comes in all sort of shapes. So for the most part, any bag you're making when you're installing like a turn lock or something, you're gonna have the shape that you need in here, and it just makes it so much easier. If you're interested in that, is it also in my Amazon storefront store. The link is down below in the description box to my store, and then you'll see all of those items. That's where I got that die set from. Also, this tool is from Amazon. Link is there. So what you want to do is, we already made those marks, remember? Find your mark and get your hole put in. Now, if you don't have one of these dies, you can just get a pin or something and place your grommet over the hole centered, and then draw it, and then go back and cut it, okay? I'm using this wood. The die set comes with something to place it on your die to hit, but I can't find it, so I just use this piece of wood that I have. It does the trick. I am going to get my die placed where I need it, and then I'm going to give it a few whacks with a hammer. Sometimes it doesn't go all the way through the first time. I think my die is getting a little dull, but it'll give me the print that I need anyway. See? And if it didn't go through all the way, I can just keep hitting it. I'm just gonna snip it because it's so little. And I have the mark there from the die razor. All right, now you're going to take your grommet. And for these grommets, come on, come to mama. There we go. One side is going to be smooth like this, and the other side is gonna be like this. And then you're gonna have what's called a washer, which is just a flat piece of metal. You're going to push the material that's sticking out into the hole that you just made. So the material, the wider part is going to be on the exterior always. That wider flat part is what's going to be showing on the bag. Okay, so you've pushed that through. So this is what we're working with on the inside. It's been pushed through. Now we're going to take the washer, and we're just going to place it right over that hole. Just like that. Make sure you don't have any material sticking through or anything like that. If you need to trim it, trim it. So this tool that we're going to be using, you notice one side has kind of like a point. You see that? And the other side is flat. The side that has the point, that goes in the underside of the bag. The side that has the point comes through from the underside of the bag. Okay, situate everything so that it is even in the front, and you're just gonna give it a squeeze. And that's how you set it. See, it's so easy. Grommets aren't hard. All you have to do is make sure that you have the correct tool for the size grommet that you're using. So if I was to go up a larger size in this grommet, I believe to 15 millimeter, then I would then have to use this tool, which is essentially the same as this. You've got a flat side with the grooves for the grommet to be placed around. You'll feel it, it kind of like just connects. And then you have this point that goes down the middle, which now is going to be this tool because it needs to be bigger because it's a bigger grommet. And you do the same thing, you place it on your bag, you put this down on the top, and now you would use a hammer to hit it. So this is a handheld tool. So all you have to do is make sure that your tool matches the size of the grommet, okay? All right, that's it for that. Super easy, right? I told you. Okay, now let's get our strap made and we're done. All right, let's get our strap made. I've cut it 54 inches long and I've drawn, it's 54 inches long by 4 inches wide. I went and drew a line down the center long way. And now I am just going to fold it in, not to where it's touching that line, but right outside of that line. And that's because we don't want our material to start to bulk up when we start sewing it. So we need to leave a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, and then once I fold both sides in, I'm gonna fold it to the side. I'm gonna scoot down and repeat that process. And I'm going to just keep doing that until I have the entire thing pinned. All right, now that I have a pin, I'm going to go and sew around the entire thing at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I like to sew the side that does not have any open material like this. I like to sew the opposite side first because I feel like when I sew this side first, it doesn't give me wiggle room. You know, it can start to warp. I don't know. It may be in my head, but that's what I like to do. So I'm going to start on this side. I'm going to sew around the entire thing. All right, let's grab one end. We're going to run it up and over our adjuster. Now, if you like, you can put a strap in on here. I think I will. And then you can add a stitch or you can rivet this. I think I'm going to do a rivet. All right, so I got my rivet put on and I went ahead and added a strap in while I was at it. Now we want our strap to be wrong side facing up. Run it all the way through your hands to make sure it's not twisted. You're going to grab your swivel hook. This is the one I'm going to be using today because I just think it looks good and the vibe goes with the print. So I'm going to run it through there and back over. Again, make sure that your strap is not twisted in any way. When we get back to our strap adjuster, we're going to run it up, back down. We're going to have one last opportunity to make sure that nothing is twisted, and it's not. We're good to go. We're going to keep running our hand down the rest of our strap. Place it through our handle. I'm going to be using a rivet again. I may use 2 rivets this time. You know what? Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to use one of my spikes. That'd be fun, huh? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. I'll use 1 rivet, 1 spike. All right. Okay, so my strap is done. I've got my strap end put on. I added a spike because I just thought it would be cool. I love it. Okay, so let's get our spring hooks put on. I'm just going to kind of squeeze these 2 grommets together. Open it up and slide it over the top, going through the back. There we go. And it's going to naturally come through to the front. Bam. So you can actually hang it from the top if you want, or you can have it hanging from the side. Love it. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Okay, let me get outside and take some pictures because we have to leave in an hour for... We're going to Dave's sister for Christmas dinner, and I have not started getting me or Lola ready. Good job, Ray. I'm going to hurry up and get outside and get some pictures taken. Love it. Oh my goodness, I love it. This is going to sell so fast, I know it is. I have somebody in mind. I'm going to tag when I post it. Love it. Alright y'all, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. You can find me on all of the social media platforms. And I'll also go ahead and add all of that stuff in my, I'll add a link to all of that stuff in the video description box as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.